This is a video. This is a video that I don't particularly want to make. Usually I enjoy doing my videos, but this one it's more of a chore. Anne-Marie Waters, leader of the Forbidden Party, made a video 2 days ago. And in this video she spoke of the Batley and Spen by-election and the slanders printed in the press about her and Forbidden, and also about the slanders and the bullying, etc., from Hope Not Hate and people like that. She also spoke about the fact that she's now living in Hartlepool, it's her home, and over time she'll be standing in elections there. And she said, for instance, that there was some public meetings planned for the near future and that they would be advertised, and that they'll go ahead. There'll be a series of these meetings, and that bullying and intimidation won't be tolerated. That's the general gist of what she was saying. Now, she didn't specify exactly what she meant, like exactly what she was going to do, and I wouldn't necessarily expect her to. But my general impression is that what she means is she's going to complain, protest to the appropriate authorities, etc. Now, what good is protesting going to do? But anyhow, I know some people will find this a reassuring video because she says she will do all these things. That all of this bad stuff that's happening, that's going to be sorted out. And apparently there are some people being brought into the party to help solve various problems. Exactly. She wasn't specific, but that's the general run of things. Now, do I take any comfort or hope from this? Well, the answer is no. No. I think not put too fine a point in it. I think essentially it's just talk. I think it's a way of doing stuff without actually dealing with the problem. But I think, as to say, Anne-Marie was not, she didn't go into details of exactly what she meant. But my impression was that, she would go to, I don't know, people like the Electoral Commissioner or the police or whatever, the people you would go to in authority when you've got the problems for Britain has with intimidation and rampant slander and libel, maybe the press authority, etc. But so my impression is that essentially she's going to complain, which of course will have no effect. So I don't feel, I feel depressed, to be honest. So you see, there's a problem here, and let me explain what this problem is. Batley and Spen. This is where Joe Cox used to represent. And now just think about what I'm about to say now. Now, I can remember when Joe Cox was killed. It was in the morning, I think maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, something like that, I remember it. And I heard the news and I did whatever I had to do that day. And that night, I sat down in my kitchen there with my laptop, went onto YouTube to see my favorite YouTubers. The what would I call them? The far right You know, all of those people who are regarded as far right on YouTube. I watched the For Britain part of YouTube, and all of these people were condemning what they called the murder of Joe Cox. All of them. And all of them, as far as I can remember, were dismissing the man who killed her as a neo-Nazi. All of them were doing this, including Anne Ray. Now, first things first, I don't know exactly who this man was, but I do know, and I remember this very clearly, at the time, nobody knew who he was. Nobody. That's a simple fact. So, in calling him a neo-Nazi, the reason Anne Ray, she referred to him as a neo-Nazi or something. And the reason Anne Ray and all these YouTubers called him a neo-Nazi was that's what they'd heard on the news. You know, the lying media said it, and they all just believed it. Now, I've done a bit of research on this guy, and I can't find any reason that think he was far right. I think he was a guy who was just pushed too far. And in fact, I consider it extraordinary that there haven't been a lot more people like him who are pushed too far and end up killing some member of parliament. It's really, I find it really hard to comprehend that you can have this war against England, against Britain, its civilization, its people, with all of the misery and that entails. It's amazing to me that a society can do that, and there's virtually no violent reaction. But anyhow, that night, Anne Ray essentially did exactly what all these other YouTubers did. She condemned what she called the murder. She condemned the killing of Joe Fox. She called it murder. Now, when Anne Ray called it murder, it wasn't that she was acknowledging, let's say, the legal fact. That wasn't it. She was making a moral judgment of this. It was obvious from the tone that, she was condemning the murder, the heinous crime, if you like. Now, I don't consider that the killing of Joe Cox was a heinous crime. I think Joe Cox, this woman was a nasty, vile criminal. She was responsible for countless murders and rapes all across England, particularly the north. This was a woman, this was a full-blooded member of this woke thing. This is a woman who spent her entire political career promoting the woke agenda. She is responsible. Every single rape, every murder, she is responsible. And of course, her colleagues. But she is 100% responsible. This is a mass murder. That's what Joe Cox was. She was responsible for all the deaths, the misery. Every single child every day who was brainwashed in school, she was responsible for that. She did everything in her power to promote all of this. So, but anyhow, Anne Marie condemned her murder. So why did Anne Marie do that? Put it this way, I had a YouTube channel at the time. I did not condemn the killing of Joe Cox, and I don't condemn it now. And if in Ireland tomorrow somebody goes out and we'll soon have hate speech laws there in the preparation stages. If somebody goes out and kills the people responsible for that, I'm not going to condemn them. But Anne Marie did. And you see, when you do that, you're making a political statement. And it's a very clear political statement. And what you're saying is, carry on. carry on and, you know, carry on, and our disagreement, it's just a minor political disagreement, you know, we'll behave as if everything is normal. The reality is that Britain has been at war for years now, just like Ireland and all of Western Europe. This is a war. This is a war, and real people end up dead. This is a fact. This is a war which might well lead to genocide. This is a war that has displaced entire populations across Europe. This is a war that has forced people to become strangers in their own countries. This is a war. The fact that there are no bullets and that there has been no formal declaration, it doesn't alter the fact. This is a war. And Joe Cox was a war criminal. If this was if we were living in civilized societies, a woman like Joe Cox would have spent the rest of her life in prison. This was an horrific woman, an evil woman. So, but Anne-Marie condemned her killing. And why? Anne-Marie, in the time it took her to condemn the killing, she could have done what I did. I made a video, and instead of condemning the killing of Joe Cox, I talked about her crimes. Why didn't Anne-Marie and all the other YouTubers who are supposed to be on our side, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they take that opportunity to remind people just how evil and nasty this woman was? But the important thing here, the bottom line, is that Anne-Marie sent out a message that day. And the message was very, very clear. The message was, keep doing what you're doing. Carry on. We'll still show you the respect we showed for a decent human being. You can destroy the country. You can destroy everyone in it. But we'll just act as if this is a mild political agreement or disagreement. That was the message. The message was carry on. That's what Anne-Marie was saying, and that's what all the so-called far right or right-wing YouTubers were saying. That's what they were saying. And this was a golden opportunity. This was an historic opportunity for Anne-Marie and all of those people to send a message, to send a clear message. You've gone too far, and we won't forget it, and we'll never forgive it. It was a golden opportunity. Now, you see, it's the mindset here. It's the attitude. It's Anne-Marie's attitude, and the attitude, I have to say, of just about everyone else on the right, if I put it that way. You see, there is this attitude. You see, nobody is behaving as if this is a war. Nobody on our side is. In spite of the blindingly obvious fact that this is a war to destroy our societies and, if necessary, all the people in our societies. This is a war. This is not a political disagreement. This is not two parties with a different point of view. This is war. In many respects, this is a lot worse than World War II. In World War II, you had an enemy, a foreign enemy. This time, it's our own people, our own leaders. So, this is the attitude. There seems to be a disconnect here between reality, what's really going on. Anne-Marie Waters is a political leader in a time of war. If we lose this war, and we're losing it, there probably will be no coming back. And the consequences in the long run will certainly be a lot worse than World War II or any war. So and everyone is behaving, and I say this of people in Ireland. We have nationalist groups and all that in Ireland. They're all behaving as if this was some political debate. And then everyone watches the YouTube videos. And what do the YouTube videos tell you? They tell you what you already know. They never tell you what should be done. They never tell you this is war. This is not a joke. This is war. So I'm not. I was depressed when I saw the Anne-Marie Waters video. I think it was a missed opportunity. You see, Anne-Marie could have looked in the camera and said, "We've had enough. We've had enough." But that's not what she did. She could have conveyed that thing, "Okay, we have enough. One more day of this, and there'll be no forgiveness." There's the thing now, you see, Anne-Marie has said, now she said this several times, if Britain comes to power someday, 20 years from now, she's talked about how, let's say, the people in charge of the police, or, well, we just say the people who are in charge of the police, the commissioner, that he'll be called in and he'll be told, this is what you have to do, and if he doesn't do it, he'll be sacked. That's what Anne-Marie has said. Now that sends out a message too, and the message is very clear. All of you people out there in the police, in the education system, etc., all of you people, if we get into power, don't worry, everything will be fine. You won't be going to jail. We won't be tracking you down. The reality is, if for Britain was ever to come to power, or someone like for Britain, you can't just get up the next day and run the country. You're going to have Nuremberg-type trials. If, let's say, we won one day, you can't just say, well, all that stuff, forget about that. You can't do that. If we beat this wokeism, there will have to be trials. People will have to be brought to court. The people responsible for the horrors inflicted on all across the West, and in England and in Ireland. You can't just pretend that this bullying, this intimidation, this population replacement, this causing young kids to despise themselves because they're white. All of these evils, you can't just, if you come to power someday, you can't just sort of say, well, that's in the past. You just can't do that. And Anne-Marie, as I said, she's said this several times, that if Britain were to come to power, this head of this department and this head of this department, they'd be told they have to do their jobs, and if they didn't, they'd be sacked. But that sends out a wrong message. What Anne-Marie should be saying is that when we get into power, that we'll go to every school in the country, every college in the country, and ask parents, have you any complaints? Have your children been brainwashed for years, being bullied in school? If you believe that, put in a complaint. And then these people will be arrested. They'll be brought to the courts. Ordinary teachers. Ordinary teachers, ordinary policemen, ordinary people who are involved in this. That they'll be brought to court. So anyhow, as I often do, I'm muffling on a bit. And as I say, I don't particularly want to make this video. I'm not particularly enjoying it. The subject is depressing, the situation is depressing, and but having watched this video, do I think Anne-Marie, the Forbidden Party, are going to do anything? No. I think it's just a way of going through the motions without actually doing what needs to be done. And, you know, it's as if at some level the penny hasn't dropped, that this is a war. In a very real sense, this is a war to end all wars, because I don't see civilization recovering from this. I really don't. Anyhow, sorry for the depressing video, but there you are.